Hello everyone, this is my entry for the ellimacs contest. I wanted to do a very gross wound with some lighter stuff in there. I don't know how it's called in English. I guess I should have looked it up, but I hope you like it. I will show you exactly how I did this, and I used some silicone modeling compound, but you could definitely also use latex, and it's pretty easy and fast. I did this in 20 minutes, and yeah, I hope you enjoy. Okay, so for this tutorial you are going to need a few things, and to start off we are going to use our alcohol activated paints. You could of course also use grease paints for this, but since I'm going to use a silicone modeling compound, I just think that alcohol activated paints work better for underneath to give the over texture to the wound. I'm starting off with a textured sponge and a little bit of the burnt orange tone, just to give general irritation all around the wound area. I'm using quite a bit of alcohol, simply to have a thinner wash of color. I'm darkening up the irritation with the bruise tone. And you can use a little bit less alcohol with this now. And since this is going to be an infected wound, I'm going to use some of the yellow. And I'm just going to press it around. There's still some of the red on here, but with my fingers I'm just going to diffuse the edges a little. With quite a lot of alcohol and the green color, I'm just going to go around the irritation to make it look like I'm having an infection. And finally going in with less alcohol and a little bit of the blue, just to add some all over darkness. Okay, now that it should look like this, we're just going to start with our 3rd degree. You have 2 parts, which is A and B, and I'm just going to mix equal parts together. Okay, now the same thing you could also create with latex, but I just think that a silicone modeling compound works a little bit better for just laying down that base. You can always go around the edges with some latex to roughen them up and to make it all look a little bit more nasty. So this is a material you have to work rather fast. So I'm just going to place it, starting off with thin layers, building them up, and always blending the edges as I go. But since it should be quite a rough wound in the end, you don't have to blend the edges too much. It should just look like it's actually your skin. And now once it gets kind of tacky, I want to build up on the edges with the rest of the product that I have left. And I'm just dabbing on the wound with my spatula to give it a more rough texture. That just appears like flesh that has been ripped open. And I'm using the other side of my spatula just to really smooth out the edges. Okay, while this is drying, we're going to start with the other side of the face that hasn't been done yet. I'm just going to skip foundation and I'm straight going into eyeshadow, and I'm using a really natural eyeshadow palette with some taupes and grays and stuff. And I'm just going to take a medium taupe color on a fluffy brush, and I'm going to place this underneath my eye to accentuate my eye bags. Make sure not to use a color that is too warm because you want it to look kind of natural, like natural shadow, I guess. Then grabbing some Kryolan eyeshadow. This is just like a plum color. And the same brush that I've used with the taupe shade. And I'm just going to take this on a brush. And I'm just going to apply this around the nostrils. Blending this all out. This is to make it look very irritated. Also going around the mouth. And I'm also adding some into the inner corner of the eye. Just surrounding the eye a bit, just to make it ill looking. And I'm adding the same plum color onto the other eye as well. This one should be a little bit more dark because the infection is going to occur from this side. Okay, while the other side is still drying, the infected side, I'm just going to go in with my FX palette again and some alcohol and a very thin brush, and I'm just going to start drawing some veins that are coming from the wound. Make sure not to draw them too thick or too intense color-wise, because you have to think about it, because veins are still underneath the skin. This will make them look a little less colorful, but you should still be able to see them. You can of course also have different kinds of colors. I'm, for example, putting in some green ones as well. This you can also do with eyeshadows, for example, or you can also use grease paints. You don't necessarily have to use alcohol activated paints. It's just a personal preference, because especially if you want to wear it out to a Halloween party or something, you want it to last very long, and alcohol activated paints are just going nowhere. I'm adding some in with the aged blood tone as well. And slowly but surely you also want to do some coming out of your eye. If you feel like you've gone a little bit too heavy, you just go in with your alcohol. You can use a cotton tip, you could also use your fingers. And you just go in and onto these veins to make them disappear. Or make them appear less harsh. Okay, now the wound is kind of dry. And I'm grabbing some of the blood tone. And I'm not switching the brush. I'm just coloring, and then I'm going in with the black, and I'm just going around the edges. So now, since these are all alcohol activated paints, you can also diffuse them and mix them with alcohol. And that's what I'm gonna do now. So I'm again going into the blood tone, and I'm just mixing in the black. For the irritated skin around the wound, I'm mixing some of the yellow and some of the orange to get like lighter orange. And I'm just applying a very, very light wash. The alcohol colors are not going to stick to the modeling gel when they're too thin. So I'm using this to give me more of a settled color. So it looks something like this. And now we are going to fill the wound, and then we are pretty much done. Now, as a wound filler, you can pretty much use whatever you've got handy. I like to use cotton and some blood. And the way I do this is I just grab some cotton, and I'm just going to stick this into the wound, just basically hoping that it won't fall out. This is just going to act as the natural fiber that flesh has. And then I'm getting some blood, and I'm just going to press my brush into the wound. Now you have to kind of work it a little bit until it kind of gets distributed. And now everything's nice and red in here. You can add more blood, as much as you want basically. Mess around with the blood a little, so get it around your wound. I like to do this with my fingers, although now, as you probably can tell, the cotton gives it a nice fibery texture. And now I'm just going to add some more blood. You can now see why we've done all the color work beforehand. To give it a final touch, I've mixed some hair gel with some face paint and some foundation to get some gooey feel. I'm just mixing that into the wound. This is going to make it a little bit more lighter, giving it the look as if it's really cooking. And hair gel is perfect for this because it stays in place pretty much. You can also use this to symbolize like fatty tissue. And then the only thing that's left to do is use a little bit of dark blood to mess around at the wound. This is going to make it look very dark and very nasty. Now I like to go crazy with the blood. But this is basically the wound finished. If you wanted, you could have added a lot more veining that was coming out of the wound and less blood, so you could see the veining more than the blood. But I'm kind of a blood girl. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed and it was kind of useful to you and you learned something new today.